The new Facebook with executives exiting, key executives to Mr. Zuckerberg in the last 24 hours. Is the new Facebook a Facebook advertising likes? Or is there a nostalgia for what was?
Yeah, so it's clear that Facebook is still one of the most important platforms for most advertisers. That said, they have to consider various risks with the rewards, right? And so the new Facebook or the evolving Facebook, it's still going to be an important platform. Even when I was at Pivotal, regardless of what my rating was, right, still expecting pretty solid growth.
Well, what do you do in terms of advertising business with Facebook and the allocation there, the allocation Google, the pressures of other parts of the ad business, and the pressure also to participate in March Madness? I mean, I know you've got rockstar seats now at Group M, but how do you fold in Facebook with all the traditional advertising entities you know?
Yeah, what's interesting is that last time I went from Wall Street to Madison Avenue was 2003, and at the time I think advertisers were freaking out about how dependent they were on television,
right,
and how they needed alternatives, and they needed to find ways to think differently about their broader mix. The same is true now. I mean, large advertisers don't like ever being dependent on any small number of suppliers.
But they are dependent on Facebook and Google. How do they extricate themselves from that to a better profitability, the challenges that WPP faces?
Yeah, well, let's separate, what the agencies are doing from what the marketers are doing.
Fair.
From the marketer's perspective, they should always be thinking of alternatives to any given media owner. They should always have, BATNA, best alternative to negotiated agreement. That concept has to apply. That said, media owners also up their game. Right? You think about what the television networks did conventionally, right? They've established streaming services. They've established ad-supported opportunities. The Facebooks, the Googles of the world, if they do what they should do, they always find ways to improve their offerings, and they can be part of a broader mix. May I add, I've argued, and one of the things when you think about thought leadership and trying to encourage where everyone should go, think about like the Adobes and Salesforce.coms of the world, or Oracle. The fact that marketers who are spending money on media should be thinking about tighter integration with their overall marketing technology. As an example, those sorts of ways of thinking differently about their overall marketing mix will allow them to keep growing, allow them to keep meeting their objectives, allow them to control their costs as they need to. Agencies hope they're going to just find ways to provide services to support whatever it is that the marketer thinks is best.
Brian, give me a sense of whether a lot of these big tech companies will be broken up. There's more and more demands in Europe. Europe has taken the lead on this. This is about data privacy and things like that. In 3 years, will a Facebook or a Google look like it looks now? Yeah,
it's certainly something that we have to watch. I think that if you look at where the regulatory environment is in Europe, I think there's certainly a lot of pressure towards that happening. It's interesting from a marketer's perspective or from an advertiser's perspective, you can be somewhat indifferent, frankly, about whether or not a seller of media, supplier of inventory is consolidated or not. That said, I think that the chances are good that there will be more regulatory action rather than less in the future.